find Jean Grey as she is living the last moments of her life, having flown the space shuttle with her teammates safely inside a radiation-proof cell for the last 20 minutes through the worst solar storm in history. Finally reaching Earth, it's detected by an air traffic controller who clears a path for it where it comes in hot to Kennedy Airport, and it crashes to the surprise of the X-Men who were sure that they were all going to die. However, the violence of the landing shocks everyone. Skidding along the runway and through the crash barriers, it starts slowing in Jamaica Bay, where it skips a few times before sinking into the watery depths, spreading oil into the waters and not a movement to be seen. Suddenly, Cyclops and the others break the surface when he notices that Jean is still down below and moves to get her. Kurt Wagner moves to stop him, telling him that he can't save Jean now, but Scott tells Kurt that if he tries to stop him, that he'll kill him. Peter interrupts and points at the water where the shuttle sank as something's happening and a geyser of water explodes, with Jean Grey in a new costume shooting upward, crying out that she is both fire and life itself, and that she is now known as Phoenix. Overwhelmed with emotions and memories, she screams for Scott as she falls back into the water as he goes to her, and holding her above the surface is worried as she seems to barely be alive. Bringing themselves out of the bay, Cyclops worries about her creating the new costume using powers she's never had, but is thankful that she's alive. Professor Xavier turns to the others, imploring them to hide their costumes and powers before the police arrive to avoid trouble. Corbo, while impressed they can alter their disguises, reminds them that this is the second time that they've destroyed Kennedy Airport. Xavier uses his mental abilities to allow them all to sneak away, save for Peter Corbo, so that he's the sole survivor of the crash, allowing them to return to their lives. We find Wolverine as he's buying a bunch of flowers, wondering what he's doing as he enters the hospital, thinking of how much he likes Jean and how he wants her. Confused on his feelings, he hopes to chat with her, but when he enters the room, finds it packed with the others waiting to hear of her condition. He disposes of the flowers as Moira asks Charles if there's anything he can do, but he responds that any extended use of his powers brings on the nightmare he's been having, and that using them to allow the X-Men to escape earlier almost caused a seizure. Despairing that he can't help himself, let alone Jean, the hours drag on, with Sean hoping they'll hear something soon. We then turn to Scott as he laments all the time where they loved each other but said nothing, and how she gives his life meaning when he hears someone speaking in the room beside him. Seeing Corbo and another doctor coming out, Scott asks desperately how Jean is, and Dr. McKay tells him that with plenty of rest and care she'll be fine, and elated to hear the news, the X-Men celebrate. However, Nightcrawler saw that Scott slipped away from everyone, and going to check on his friend finds him crying, thankful that everything will be alright for the woman he loves, as Kurt silently closes the door. Returning to the others, he tells them Scott will join them shortly when Xavier asks everyone to quiet down as he's decided to send them all on an enforced vacation. Wolverine, though, doesn't want to go anywhere until Jean's better, but Charles tells him that only he and Scott are able to give her the attention she needs until she heals, and that they won't be able to look after her and run the X-Men together. Sean, while not totally agreeing with the idea, pulls out a letter telling him that he's recently inherited the Cassidy ancestral home, which would be perfect as it's far from people, which the professor feels is perfect for them. Not too happy at first at having been sent away, the team of heroes slowly grow more relaxed as they arrive in Dublin and see the sights, of which after a week there, finally head towards their destination and begin to enjoy themselves. Driving along the last leg of the journey, many of them are finding the ride less than comfortable as Peter jokes about the car ride when they finally arrive. Large and imposing, they stare up at the foreboding castle that Sean Cassidy grew up in, that was built originally to repel Viking invaders and has never fallen from any invasion yet. However, inside the control room of the keep, a mysterious man is eagerly awaiting the arrival of his cousin as he orders a man by the name of Eamon O'Donnell to bring them inside but keep them unaware of his presence. However, Eamon wants no part in murdering innocents when the man grows enraged, reminding him of the hostages that he's taken to ensure his cooperation. Threatening him with his loved ones, he strikes and ensures he'll do as he's told. Watching the screen, he sees Eamon do as he's told when someone tells the man that he shouldn't trust him, but the man isn't concerned. Heading inside the keep, Aurora is uncomfortable, surrounded by the tons of stone, but Sean reassures her when Eamon suggests that they retire for the night, and Sean explains to the others that O'Donnell is the steward of the castle as he asks about his family. Leading them up, Eamon shows Aurora to her room, and though she's happy that Sean's home, is eager to leave, but is determined to control her fears and forces herself to relax by summoning a rainstorm around herself and can almost imagine herself back in Kenya. Finished refreshing herself, she's getting ready for a formal dinner when Kurt teleports into the room, prepared to escort her down when she asks if he's going dressed in costume. However, he holds up his image inducer and while cycling through a series of people, can get her to laugh before settling on Errol Flynn as usual. She then removes her robe to reveal her dress, leaving Kurt speechless as she asks him if he thinks she's pretty, and he lets her know that she's one of the most beautiful women he's ever met. Turning to Sean, he feels something is wrong but can't determine what, except that Eamon froze when asked of his family and decides to chat with them later when he leaves the room, and Wolverine asks why he's dressed as a stable hand for the formal dinner, explaining that as Lord of the Castle he can dress however he wants, while Peter, Aurora, and Kurt banter about dinner. Before they go far though, the floor opens beneath them and they drop through as Sean yells for them to get into costume. Before them are Black Tom Cassidy along with Juggernaut as they introduce themselves and tell them that unlike the other villains of the world, they're going to succeed in killing the X-Men. Sean, though, isn't alarmed as he rebukes his cousin, but Black Tom informs him that they're in the dungeons of Cassidy Keep and that it'll be their tomb. Upon hearing this, though, Storm focuses on the surrounding stone and feels it pressing in on her and in a panic, lets loose an unearthly scream to the worry of her teammates.